Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how to use the Alayacare app. First, we're going to start off by going to the App Store. As you can notice, I'm using the iOS device at the moment, but it'll be very similar for both iOS and Android. For this, I'm going to be going to the App Store. On Android, you would be going to the Google Play Store. Once I open this up, I'm just going to go to the search feature, and I'm going to search Alayacare. In this case, only one pops up. If you have Android, another app may pop up called Alayacare RPM. That is not the app you want. It'll be simply called just Alayacare. And I'm going to hit Get. Go back to the home screen. It's going to be on the next page. I'm going to launch Alayacare. I'm going to hit Allow. The notifications may be different. It may ask you if you're using Android for these permissions during the install. I would recommend choosing Allow just to ensure that there are no issues going forward. And now you're going to see Alayacare. Welcome. Please enter your company server name. Here, you're just going to type in USC dot or period Alayacare period com, and we're going to hit next. You can either hit go or next here. And again, this may vary slightly on the Android device, but it should look pretty much the same once you're at this point. For the email, here you would type in your email address. I have a test account that I'm going to be using, so I'm going to type that in to log in. But again, here you would be typing in your email address. Here, for password, everyone was given a generic password to start off, which I'm going to type in. It's welcome with a capital W, 1 exclamation mark. And I'm going to hit log in with Alayacare. Now, as everything was put in right here, including the server account, it should take it a few seconds, but it should load without problem. For location, we're going to hit allow while using app. Again, for Android, that might not pop up. You might have granted that permission already. For iOS users, when you're using it again, or even after the app's been minimized, it may ask you if you want to always allow. I would recommend choosing always allow just to ensure that there's no errors. This won't hinder or affect your device in any way or use any more data. So as you see here, it immediately went to the schedule a screen. On the calendar is today's date. I have a visit scheduled at 1:30. It's a little bit past that right now, but that's okay because it's just a demonstration. And you see the daily COVID-19 daily screener. But first, because I just logged in for the first time, what I want to do is change my password. So these 3 lines in the top left corner, I'm going to click on those, and then you'll see this menu. I'm going to go to settings, and you see change password and offline settings. So we're going to select change password. We're going to type in the current password, which is welcome with a capital W, 1 exclamation mark, and we're going to type in our new password. For now, I would recommend doing a password that's easy to remember, that you're very familiar with, something safe, secure, nothing too simple, but something that you know you'll be able to use consistently without possibly forgetting it to avoid possible future errors with passwords. For this, I'm just going to do a generic password. I'm going to call test account. I'm using a capital letter. I would recommend personally using a capital letter, at least one symbol, and a number. So I'm going to do test account with a capital T. I'm going to use the @ symbol, 12. I'm going to just type that in again. And as long as there's no typing errors or mistakes, and I typed in the same password twice, and I hit submit in the top right corner, it's now changed. So when I go to log in again, it's going to ask me for my password, and it's going to be that new password instead of welcome 1. The other thing you can do depending on where you store your passwords, but both Android and iOS devices have a notepad feature. You can go in that notepad and store the password in there to help you remember just in case as well. But now we're going to go to the schedule. So we're going to get those 3 lines in the top left corner again. And we're going to go back to schedule. And as you can see, it brought us right again to today. If for whatever reason you need to go back to another day or see your schedule for a future day, it's very simple. You're just going to swipe left or right by touching the screen and sliding your finger. So for instance, if I want to go left to see a previous day, I'm going to touch on the left side and then swipe to the right. And then it'll take a second, but it'll load now January 9th. And then I can keep swiping that way to go back more days. And then I'm going to swipe back, I'm going to touch the right side of the screen and slide to the left. And there's the 9th, and there's today the 10th. And if I slide again, it'll show me tomorrow. I have nothing for tomorrow yet because I haven't scheduled any more test visits. But if you have any other additional visits for Monday, or if you want to keep swiping to the right, Tuesday, you can see your schedule that way as well. I'm going to go back to Sunday, January 10th, because that is where our test visit is. First, I'm going to do the COVID-19 daily screener. I'm going to just simply click on that. It's going to take it a second to load. The first thing I have to do is clock in. Now there's 2 ways you can clock in here. You see the green clock in the left corner there just below info. I can click on that to clock in, or if I want to, on the top right corner there's a very small clock in the very top right there above everything. I can hit that to clock in. So to just demonstrate, if I click the top right corner, I need to complete the form. So the best way to do this is if I hit the green clock symbol either on the top left or the green clock symbol in the top right. So if I click the top right corner where that small clock is, just below where it shows my battery and I'm connected to Wi-Fi, it brings me to the COVID-19 assessment form. But now if I hit cancel, the green clock symbol just below info, and I click that, it also brings me to the COVID-19 assessment form. And to fill it out, I'm just going to simply click. I'll have 3 options: not set, yes, no. It'll always be on not set. But I'm going to select no because I've had none of those symptoms by simply selecting it. And then I'm going to do the same for the next boxes. I'm going to choose no. And again, I'm just clicking on the box and I'm choosing no. And I'm going to hit submit. I'm going to hit OK on that and ignore it because it doesn't matter for this instance. It's going to take it a second to load. It's now clocked me in now that I've completed the screener. Now I'm going to slide over. I'm sliding right, so I'm touching the screen on the right side and sliding my finger left. And this is where we have to make sure we complete. As you can see, this is labeled service tasks. There's another way you can get to it. You can either slide below, but if you go to the top where you see that blue bar, when you see the list, you can see the private paid client agreement to the left. I can actually click where those letters are on the blue box and slide. And the page never changes. So if you want to get to a page quickly without sliding through every single page, I can slide on this bar left or right once I select it. Then I can select info, and now I'm back on the info page. So I can either swipe to the right on the big box and go through each page, or I can go to that blue bar on the top where it shows all the different tabs, and I can slide now by clicking and sliding my finger to the left, and I can locate service tasks, which is where we want to be. I'm now going to select the daily COVID-19 screener temp form. We're going to select this date box. This may look slightly different on Android devices. It's going to automatically be today's, so we're just going to hit done. Employee name. I'm going to insert. This is where you insert your name. And when you're clicking on it, so you can click on it and you type. To exit out, you can either click onto the next box, or you can simply click outside of the box in an area where the other boxes are not. So if I click on where it says for employees, it just minimizes it. Because I want to keep going, I'm going to select the next box from that point. That way I can go straight to typing it in. I'm going to put in my last night temperature. And then again, I can either click outside of the box to exit, or I can click on the next box to continue. Either way, once you're outside of the box, you have to click on the next box to continue, otherwise you can't put in your information. And I'm going to put in this morning's temperature. And this time I clicked outside of the box, and then now I've completed my daily temperature. Now that that is done, I'm going to hit submit in the top right corner. It may take it a couple seconds. Sometimes the check mark does not always appear right away, so it can take up to 5 seconds at times. And then, as you can see, we have one task left that's going to be required for us to clock out, which is the client signature. It does say client signature. However, this box is for yourself. And you see new section, is the client able to sign? You're just going to hit yes. It's going to pop up this client signature box. This is you're going to click on. It's going to change the orientation for easier signing. And then this is where you're going to sign, because this COVID-19 screener is for you. I know it can be a little confusing because it says client signature, but this is just going to be your way of authenticating that you filled it out and signed it. So then here you will sign. In this case, I'm just going to write test. And then once that is done, I can click done. Or if I had an error, or let's say I made a mistake spelling my name, you can always go to the top corner next to cancel. And this will be in the left corner, and you can select the one that says clear, and that'll cancel it out. And then you can just re-sign. So if there's an error, or you're in the middle of signing and maybe you drop your phone so you only half wrote your signature, whatever the reason may be, you can clear it out and then do your signature. Once that is done, in the top right corner, you will select done. Now it'll switch the orientation back. As you can see, it has been signed. That again will be your name. And once that is done, you're going to select submit in the top right corner. Now that that is complete, the easiest way to clock out is going to be to hit that top right corner where that little clock symbol is with the X on it. However, if that's not working for whatever reason, you can either slide by touching the screen on the left side and sliding right, and you'll go to each tab and you have to keep sliding, and then you'll be back on this screen. Or, just to demonstrate, if you're on the service task, again, you can select the top bar there, just under the COVID-19 screener where all the different tabs are, and slide. And then that'll be the info tab that I just slid to. And then just by tapping it, you'll go to that page. Once you're on this page, you now have another option to clock out. You can now hit the red clock. And it says there's a problem to determine the client location. That is because there is no client, and also probably due to my connection. You may not get this error. You would just hit OK on it, and now clocked me out. If I hit the back arrow in the top left corner, it brings me back to today's schedule. That is now highlighted blue and has a check mark signifying that it has been completed. So now we're going to clock into our test client. This will be whoever your client is, whatever their name may be, Mary Smith, etc. To start this visit, we're going to simply click on that box that says test client, the time in which we're supposed to clock in and clock out, and it'll have the address of the clients. Once we click on them, we will be brought to this page. As you can see, the location is on. And again, you'll have a green clock in the top left corner, and a little bit higher up in the top right corner, you'll have a normal clock. Either one you can select to clock it. Once you do, it'll ask you the COVID-19 assessment, no matter which one I click on. So type right corner, top left corner. We're going to quickly complete this, as we went over this earlier. And now we're going to select submit. The COVID-19 assessment has now been completed. It now says, as you can see, because I am not close to this address, you should not get this error, because obviously you'll be at the client's residence when you're doing this. In this case, I'm going to hit OK, as is just a demonstration, and now I am clocked in once it loads. It gives me a little notification, and it lets me know that I'm clocked in. I'm just going to clear that. Now, we have care provider notes. We're going to go past that, and we're going to slide again. And here it says care plan. For a lot of people, this will appear empty. This is not where we'll complete anything, so this is a tab we want to completely ignore. This tab does not matter for us. So if you're swiping using the big box, we're going to keep swiping from the right to the left with our finger and keep going right. We're going to go past my emergency plan. We're going to go past the private pay client agreement. For right now, we're going to ignore the receipt form, which I will demonstrate later. And then we're going to go past the skilled nursing private pay client agreement. And now we're on service tasks. And again, you can also, just to demonstrate, I slid really fast, go from the info. You can grab that top bar on the right and just slide your finger by selecting it and sliding it from the right to the left, and find service tasks. Because that is where we want to be. That's where all our interventions or our tasks that we're going to be completing for this client today. As you can see, there's different information. This will be everything that you're completing for the day. This is just a generic care plan with a bulk of the interventions listed. You may not have all these. You may have some of these. You may have just housekeeping. You may have just personal care. It just varies obviously by client. And as you can see, if I slide up and down, different ones have descriptions underneath them. So as needed are things that I don't have to complete today. So because it says as needed, that is something I don't have to do. I can still tap it, which it may take a few seconds for it to register. So don't tap it more than once, as if you do, it may never get checked off. And you want to check it because maybe you assisted that day, so you want to mark that that was done. You're always required to supervise, so we're going to mark that as complete. And again, it can take a few seconds for the check mark to appear, so tap only once on it and wait. And you can click anywhere on that box for the most part. So I can either click where the bubble is, or I can click where it says ambulation device. And as you can see, when I do that, it pops up this little plus symbol and this little mark. So to demonstrate here, under ambulation device, you have this little chat bubble or thought bubble in the right of it here. If I click on that, it allows me to add a comment. So if there's something, let's say, we noticed or whatever may have happened, and it's something that you want to know onto the care plan and make sure that it's noted. So let's say ambulation device, they have a walker and a cane. Let's say cane was not present, and we just wanted to notate that. Oops, sorry about that, not present. Or if we want to say it a different way, we'll just say cane was not there. And then we're going to hit done. I've now added a note, which you can see by the bubble being check marked. I'm going to hit this plus symbol. If I hit this plus symbol, it duplicated it. We don't need to do that for any reason. That is something you completely ignore, that plus symbol. So I'm now going to remove it. So if I do it, let's say I did this on accident, clicking on the box to make sure I was completing it, we're just going to hit that minus symbol on the duplicated visit that's below it. And again, it may take it a second to load, so if it doesn't automatically do it, or do it right away, don't be worried, don't panic, it's okay. It can be very quick sometimes, and it can be very slow at times. So again, it can take up to 5 seconds for these to load, and for this, I'm just going to keep checking through, saying that I completed each of these tasks as I do them. And again, it's going to take a while, and make sure you're sliding down, that you're completing all of them. And to slide down is the same thing as sliding left or right. You're going to click usually towards the bottom of the screen, and then slide your finger up. And then the same thing to slide up. I'm going to select towards the top of the screen and slide down with my finger, and that'll scroll me up or down. And as you can see, these are all as needed, so I don't have to complete these. These things will be per request as needed. They will not be checked as required for the visit. So if I wanted to, let's say I didn't do briefs today, I left it unmarked. And then we have meal prep, their diet, and again, it may take a little time to load, it may be very quick. And here's something, so Tidy's client's room is something that's required every visit. Let's say the client, for whatever reason that day, absolutely refused to allow us to complete this. If we hit this chat bubble, or thought bubble, in the top right corner of this intervention, or this task today from the care plan, we can add a comment saying client, participant, or maybe their name, so let's say Mary Smith. We're going to use client refused this task, this service, this intervention, however we want to call it. I'm just going to say client refused this task, and then I'm going to hit done. And then we're going to keep checking them off as needed. So as you can see, that's just for bed making. I'm just going to keep checking them off. So just bear with me for a moment as I go through and keep selecting them. Again, with one single tap and waiting for it to load as being checked. I know it can be a little bit aggravating at times when you click it and it doesn't load right away. And it's very easy when it doesn't to get tap happy on your device and try to tap it more than once. But again, if you do that, so let's say I tap and then tap again, and empty trashes, nothing at all happened because I selected it and then I just unselected it. Even though it didn't show that happening, the device is registering it, and in this case the application is registering it, so it never gets checked. So if you keep tapping it a lot to try to get it to load, it could cause a lot of issues with it just not showing up, which can cause more aggravation and frustration when you're trying to complete your care plan for the day. So I'm just going to select it once and wait. In that case, it loaded extremely fast, and I'm just going to keep going through. And again, you may not have all of these interventions or tasks or services that you'll be providing. This is just a complete demonstration. So you may not have these, you may have some of these. They may have different descriptions underneath them. And again, you may not check all these off depending on how your day goes, especially the as needed ones. You may not complete those every visit. And then at the end, once you've checked everything off, or depending again how the day went, checked off the ones that have been completed, we're going to hit client signature. You will get new section. Is the client able to sign? We're going to click on this box. Today we're going to say that they were able to sign. It's going to pop this up. If we click on that box again, let's say they weren't able to sign, so we're going to hit no. You're going to see this second box that's going to say a reason code instead. If I select this box, it'll give us codes or reasons why they weren't able to sign. We can choose any of those reasons to do it, and if we do, that will be complete and we can select submit in the top right corner. But for this, we're just going to demonstrate what the signing would be like. So we're going to go back to is the client able to sign? We're going to select yes. We're going to select client signature. Again, it's going to switch the orientation so that it's easier for them to sign. And for this, we're just going to say that the client was Mary. So we're going to sign Mary Smith. That'll be our made up client for this demonstration. Now that she has signed, you can hit done. But let's say she had an error, had a hard time signing, needs to redo it. Again, in the top left corner by cancel, you will have the option to hit clear. Once you hit clear, it will empty it out and they can then again try to sign. They will use their finger to do this. I apologize for the terrible handwriting. And then we're going to hit done in the top right corner once the signature is complete. Now that we've done it, it'll give us a little overview of what we just did. And then we want to submit this form by selecting submit in the top right corner. Now we have everything done. I'm just going to scroll back through it quickly. You can do this too as well to make sure that everything is checked off as needed. You can take your time, scroll as slowly as you need to, review everything. If you need to add any notes at the end, you can hit those chat bubbles or talk bubbles or thought bubbles on the intervention to add notes as needed. And now, again, we have two options here to clock out once we're done. But let's say we needed to do errands today. That was on our list. We went to the store, we made a purchase. We're going to go to, sorry, didn't mean to select that. I'm going to slide to the left. Slide to the left. We now have this tab called the receipt form. So once we come to the receipt form, you may see this little loading symbol. We can ignore that entirely. We're going to hit this plus symbol on the bottom right corner. Once we do, you'll see the loading, and now it'll show this. This is where we're going to enter the receipt information. So we're going to do date of errand. We're going to click on this box. Again, it'll automatically do today's date. So we're going to hit done on that. We're at the bottom there. And now details of errand and purchase. We're going to click on this box. I'm just going to put in something simple. We're going to say we're going to put completed grocery errand. And then as you can see, I can either click outside the box in between any of those boxes, I can click up towards the top to exit out. But let's say I put that information in, I can see the next box is receipt photo. This is something we want to add, so we're going to click on that little camera icon next. Once we do, it's going to open the camera. For Android, you might have already granted permission for this when you're installing the app, so you might not get this option. For iOS users, you'll get this little Alayacare would like to access your camera. This is going to grant them permission so you can take a picture. You're going to hit OK. Now, so let's say I ran to the store. I have 2 pictures now. Well, 2 receipts, I mean. But let's say I want to make sure I get both of these receipts in the photo. Or let's say I had to make multiple runs. Not necessarily that maybe they gave me 2 receipts. In this case, the store gave me 2 receipts. Maybe you have multiple receipts. You just want to make sure you get them inside the picture and then hit the photo option, take a picture. For iOS users, it's going to ask if you want to use photo. We're going to review it. It doesn't show everything we need on there. It just show the purpose, the purchases, the prices, and we're just going to hit use photo. And as you can see, we now have a picture of that receipt. Now we can add more receipts in there. So if you have a lot of receipts, I would try to just use the multiple receipt photos to add those in as needed. In this case, the receipt that I took a picture of, I had 2 copies of the receipt. Both were a little bit different, so I included them in both photos. Necessarily that it might not be what you have to do or need to do, or it's required of you. Now I can delete the photo by hitting that little trash bin on it where I add it and retake it if I'm not happy with it. If I look at it, I'm like, no, I need, maybe it's not clear. Maybe I want to try to take a picture. Whether you don't have the shadow on the phone, whatever reason may be, you can hit that trash can button and that'll delete it. But as you can see, that photo is still required. So now when we click the camera icon, it will require it again. And let's say in this case, I'm going to take a picture of each receipt individually. Nice and clear. Maybe it's easier to read that way because I can get a little bit closer on it. I'm going to take the photo. For this, I'm going to select use photo. I now have the 1 receipt on there. It's a little bit closer, a little bit easier to read maybe. And let's say maybe I did multiple purchases. This is our second receipt, not necessarily a more detailed additional receipt that goes with the other one. And then again, we're going to make sure it's in the camera. I'm going to take the photo. We're going to review it, make sure that's nice and clear. And we're going to hit use photo. Now we have both receipts. Zoomed in a little bit more, it's a little bit more clear that way. I'm going to say I'm a little bit more happy with that one. I'm going to keep those. I'm not going to make any changes. As you see, you have a box for miscellaneous comments as well. Here you can add any comments, maybe as necessary. So let's click on this box. Let's say maybe we were provided a grocery list. We were supposed to get the client some yogurt. We'll say store was out of client's desired yogurt, whatever it may be. You can just simply put was not able to get yogurt, store was out of yogurt, something along that line. As you can see now though, I have to click outside of the box to get the chat box to appear. If I hit return, it just enters down the line. So I'm just going to click at the top and I'm going to hit receipt form. As you can see, that didn't work. So for this instance, for me to get rid of the chat box, which again, this may vary slightly from Android to iOS, I'm going to just select at the top next to new section. Now that box is gone. And from there, I'm just going to scroll down because there's one more thing that we have to do, which is the client signature. This verifies the errand and exchange of money information is correct. So we're going to click on this box, and here they would sign. So we're just going to sign our thank client for today, which is Mary Smith. We're going to hit done in the top right corner, because I'm just going to double check, make sure everything is filled. Everything with these little stars next to the name, such as date of errand, details of errand and purchase, or receipt photo, the first one, and then the client signature will all have this little asterisk, which means they are required fields to be completed. And I'm going to hit submit. And now you've completed your errand, you have your receipts in there. The compliant is completely done. If you want to double check, you can now slide back to the right, verify, go through your service tasks and make sure they're complete. It's going to be your interventions. And now again, we're going to go back, we're sliding to the left to the info page. And as you can see, it's highlighted by that line. From here, I can now clock out in two different ways, with the red clock symbol in the left corner, in the top left corner, or in the top right corner, the little clock symbol next to test client there that has the little X. Clicking either of these will then clock you out. At the end of your shift, it's very important to ensure that you clock out. So I'm going to use the red clock symbol on info, but for instance, just to show you, if we go back to receipt forms, we just completed the receipt form. We now want to clock out here. We know we're done. We were just filling that out at the end of the visit. We already had them sign off on the service task. I can hit that clock in the top right corner from this screen to clock out. I can also do that from any of these tabs. So if I'm on service task, let's say go back to service task. I wanted to review them just to make sure, maybe add notes or comments as needed. I'm happy with it. I'm now going to hit that clock in the top right corner instead. It's going to give me a warning. That little clock symbol, I will warn you, can be a little bit finicky. When you press it, sometimes it doesn't load right away. Sometimes it doesn't register the press. It has a very small selection there. So just to demonstrate, I'm going to hit cancel. Which stopped me from clocking out. Let's say I'm trying to click it, it's just not working. In that case, we're going to just slide back all the way back to the info tab at the very beginning, where the first screen that pops up when we selected our visit for today. And I'm going to hit the red clock in the top left there. It says I'm not in close proximity to the client. This is a test client, of course, so I'm not actually at the client. It's there today. Again, this is not an error you will see when you're clocking in and out. I'm just going to hit OK. It's going to take a couple seconds here. Now I am now clocked out of this visit. Hit this back button in the top left corner. It's going to bring us back to today's schedule. It's going to show us our client. It's going to highlight it blue and have a check mark on the box. That is now completed. So we have now completed our visit for today. We clocked in, we completed our task, we completed a receipt form, and then we clocked back out. That is very important to make sure you're able to clock in and clock out. And now let's say I don't want to stay logged in the Alayacare app. I can hit these three lines in the top left corner, and I can hit log out. It's going to ask me if I'm sure I want to log out. I'm going to hit OK, because I do. I'm done for the day. I don't want to be logged in anymore. It'll bring you back to this Alayacare login screen. You are now it'll save your email in there, so when you open the app back up, so let's say I want to close it, I'm just going to clear it out. And I go back to it. Now that I logged out, my email is still there. It'll save your email but not your password in the password box. to make sure that no one else, if they get for a reason getting your phone, they're not able to log into your Alayacare account and view that potential HIPAA information. And that'll wrap up our video for today, and I hope that it helped. Thank you very much.